Welcome into Rogue Football. I'm your host, Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here today. Right now, we're getting into our AFC Playoff Predictions for the 2023 NFL season. 7 teams make the playoffs now, right? So it'll be really interesting to see how this all shakes out. I think there's definitely some teams that are lead-piped locks to make the playoffs in 2023. I think there's going to be some shakeups at the back of the AFC playoff picture, though. So excited to get into it. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content here, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a show. All right, so my first lock for the AFC playoffs is the Kansas City Chiefs. This is, in my opinion, the closest thing we've seen to a dynasty over the last few years in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback on the planet, maybe the best quarterback we've ever seen right now. He's really playing at an unbelievable level. He came into the league with an unbelievable ability to be a playmaker at the position, and now he has developed into a guy who can read defenses, who can really manipulate and take advantage of all your different weaknesses, and there's just really no effective way to contain him on a regular basis. They have a quality offensive line up front. They've spent a lot on that. I think they still have enough at the wide receiver position along with Travis Kelce, obviously. They've gotten some good production out of their backs. Isaiah Pacheco was a diamond in the rough last year. They've still got Jerick McKinnon. I think they have an underrated defense, a defense that is strong at all 3 levels and will have an opportunity to be even better in 2023 thanks to the maturation of some of the guys on the back end and the secondary and some of the talent they've added at linebacker and up front. So I think the Chiefs are still the cream of the crop in the AFC. Right behind them, though, probably in the same tier as them, the Cincinnati Bengals. They're a very tough team. Joe Burrow, he gets the ball out quickly. He has some of the most talented receivers in the game today with Jamar Chase, with T. Higgins, with Tyler Boyd. They've got a quality running game. They do not do a ton offensively to mix it up, but they really haven't had to. Just based on their talent level, they have a quality offensive line. They have good running backs in the backfield. I think the addition of Chase Brown has gone a little bit underrated overall into that running back room. And if Joe Mixon misses any time, I think he'll be able to take over. They like to run from the shotgun, so they're not giving away if they're running or throwing. And I think Chase Brown can come in and fill that role well. I like their receiving room. I like their offensive line. I think the defense, while they did lose Jesse Bates and Von Bell, which I do think matters, I think both of those guys were high quality pieces for them and really linchpins of this defense over the last few years. They have prepared for their exit, right? They brought in guys that I think have the talent to get the job done on the back end. Do they have the mental ability as young players, Daxton Hill and Jordan Battle, to come in and be what Von Bell and Jesse Bates were? Maybe not, but they also added Nick Scott, who they believe can kind of be the quarterback of the secondary back there, get the guys lined up where they need to be. So I think the Bengals, even though they did lose some, I like what they brought in. I loved getting Myles Murphy in the first round. I think that was an absolute steal. They have a very good defensive front, very good linebacker play. They brought back Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt. I think that they just have a very well-rounded team overall, and I think that adding DJ Turner to that secondary as well is going to pay dividends for them sooner rather than later. So I still have the Bengals at number 2, and I have the Bills in a tier below those 2 teams, not as a regular season team, but as a playoff team. I just don't think you've seen enough from them in the playoffs to put them in that same category, but I do think they will win their division. I do think they're going to be one of the most competitive teams in the league in 2023. Josh Allen is an unbelievable talent at quarterback. Does he put the ball in harm's way a little bit more than you like? Yeah, I would say so. But he overcomes that by being one of the most dynamic playmakers, maybe the most dynamic playmaker at the position, with his ability to push the ball down the field, his ability to run with the football. He's an unbelievable talent. I think the Bills added more ways to pivot on offense when you look at bringing in O'Cyrus Torrence, who's going to give them a bunch more physicality on the interior, and also adding running backs like Damian Harris and Latavius Murray, I think is going to give them more of a physical presence there. Obviously, Von Miller should be back. They brought in Leonard Floyd as well. I think they have more ways to pivot on both sides of the ball, and I think I would not be surprised if this is the year the Bills actually do get over the hump, but until they show me more in the playoffs, I just can't put them ahead of the Chiefs or Bengals. Both of those teams have been to the Super Bowl in the last couple years, and both of them have made it to the AFC Championship in the last couple years. The Bills, I know they've been there. They've been strong. They've been in the playoffs. They have a really talented roster. I think maybe even Sean McDermott being more hands-on on defense could potentially be an upgrade. Not sure. Leslie Frazier's obviously a great defensive coordinator, but I think Sean McDermott was a great defensive coordinator in his own right prior to becoming the head coach. So we'll see how all that plays out. I think the Bills are right there. I just have them a little bit of a notch below the Chiefs and Bengals. And then fourth, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars, my hometown team. Part of the reason that they're at 4 is because the division that they're in is one of the weakest divisions in football. Like, I do like the Tennessee Titans. We'll talk about them. I think the Colts and Texans are both moving in a strong direction with their new leadership, with their new quarterbacks, with all the new talent they have. But you're usually just not going to be betting on rookie quarterbacks and rookie head coaches being able to punch a ticket to the playoffs unless there's just some really bizarre circumstances going on. So I think that those two teams are going to allow the Jaguars to pick up some fairly easy wins in their division. They play both of them early on. The Colts, they play twice really early in the season. They also play the Texans early on. So I think they'll be able to take advantage of that and be able to cruise to a division title in the AFC South in 2023. Now, I think after the top 4 is where it gets interesting because I think those are pretty chalky picks to win their divisions. And they're chalk for a reason. Those are all really good teams. Trevor Lawrence is an unbelievable young talent. They add Calvin Ridley to the mix. They get the ball out quickly in Jacksonville. They're going to have more ways to pivot on offense with Brenton Strange at tight end to complement Evan Ingram, with Tank Bigsby at running back to complement Travis Etienne, with Calvin Ridley stretching the field. So I think they're going to have a lot of fun in 2023 on the offensive side of the ball. I think on defense, they will be better in 2023 than they were in 2022 when it comes to slowing opposing offenses down. I think the offense on the Jaguars will also help them in that regard, help the defense out a little bit more than they did early on in 2022. So I definitely have the Jaguars as the top team there. But getting into the final 3 teams, the wild card teams in the AFC, I think is where it really gets fascinating. I'm going to go ahead and lock in the Jets as a wild card team. I wouldn't be shocked if they can compete for the division in the AFC East, one of the most difficult divisions in football right now. I think the NFC and AFC East could claim that. I think the AFC North is right there as well. But looking at the Jets, this was a playoff team in my opinion if you had decent quarterback play in 2022. They have an unbelievable young defense. Sauce Gardner is awesome. They have a really good defensive front. They have really good linebacker play. I think they have very good receivers, right? Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis. They bring in Alan Lazard as well to complement that group. And they also brought in McCole Hardman, who brings a ton of speed. Randall Cobb, I'm not sure what he's going to do in 2023, but a guy who Aaron Rodgers feels very comfortable with. And Aaron Rodgers, if you're asking him to just be an average quarterback, I think you're going to be able to get a lot more than that. He's in a great headspace right now. He wants to prove the Packers wrong. He wants to come out on top in that situation. He's one of the most talented quarterbacks to ever do it. Prior to 2022, when he was handed a bunch of rookie receivers, he was back-to-back MVP. He's reunited with his guy, Nathaniel Hackett, right? I think that the vibes are strong coming out of New York right now. They have a good running back room. As long as they can stay relatively healthy up front, they have enough talent on the offensive line to take care of Aaron Rodgers. And I think it's a team that they just needed average offensive play to make the playoffs in 2022. They did not get that from Zach Wilson. And obviously you liked a little bit of what Mike White did for you from a toughness standpoint, but he is not an average starting quarterback in this league. Aaron Rodgers is much more than that, so I have them locked in. I think they're going to have one of the best defenses in football. I think that they will have a probably top 10 offense based on everything I see here. So I think that's a team that's going to make the playoffs in 2023. Next up, another team I'm going to lock in, the 6th seed, the Los Angeles Chargers. They made the playoffs in 2022, despite dealing with a ton of injuries, despite Justin Herbert fighting through that rib injury for a lot of the season. I think that they are in a better position in 2023 to make the playoffs. They obviously have to play the Chiefs twice a year, which is unfortunate. But I think the Chargers, based on the talent of that football team, based on the leadership that I do believe that Brandon Staley exhibits. I love what Brandon Staley is as a leader, as a person. I do think he's made some questionable decisions as the Chargers head coach. I think that they're going to put it all together this year. I think they're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to make it really difficult on whoever they face in the playoffs. Obviously, they had the 27-0 lead on the Jaguars in the playoffs in 2022. They were not able to hold on to that lead. The Jaguars shocked the world and shocked the Chargers for sure. It was a very Chargers way to end the season, but it was still in the playoffs, and I think the Chargers, with Justin Herbert, with this group of offensive talent, with the talent they have on the defensive side of the ball, if they can just stay a little bit more healthy, which I know that is the MO of the Chargers. That's what you say about the Chargers every single year. But they weren't healthy last year, and they still made the playoffs. If they just have a little bit more injury luck, I think they could be a really dangerous team in 2023. I'm going to buy in one more time with the Los Angeles Chargers, see how it goes. And that leaves one more spot available in the playoffs. You've got the Chiefs, Bengals, Bills, Jaguars, Jets, Chargers all locked in here. I think there's a bunch of teams that are competing for this spot. I really, really do. I think the Ravens and the Steelers and the AFC North and the Browns are competing for that spot. I think for the Ravens, obviously you're expecting a massive jump in the offensive production with the new system coming in, with Lamar Jackson having more weapons to work with. I think the Steelers, you like a lot of the talent on both sides of the ball. There were some exciting things going on, but you still do have Matt Canada as your offensive coordinator, a very static offensive coordinator in the league today. The Browns, it's all about, can they figure out how to get Deshaun Watson to play at least average in 2023? This is a guy that has played at a league MVP level. I don't think that he is a perfect marriage for their scheme. I think they're going to need to work through some things to try to get that figured out. You know, despite my issues with Deshaun Watson off the field, we're just talking about on the football field right now. If he can get to league average at quarterback, the Browns can be a very dangerous team in 2023. So I think all three of those teams are competing there. I think the Dolphins are obviously competing in the AFC East. I do have some questions about how healthy they can stay on the offensive side of the ball. They've been very injured on the offensive line. Tua, obviously, you're worried about the concussions. Tyreek Hill has been injured throughout his career at times as well. So I think there's just a lot of question marks with the Miami Dolphins. I know Vic Fangio is going to come in, ton of talent on the defensive side of the ball, and improve that unit. But I think playing in the AFC East is going to make it more difficult to make the playoffs. So I'm waffling on the Dolphins. I'm waffling on the teams in the AFC North outside of the Cincinnati Bengals because I think it's going to be an absolute bloodbath up there. You've got the Titans in the AFC South. They were a game away from punching their ticket to the playoffs last year, almost beat the Jaguars despite, having their third string quarterback, a guy they signed off the street a week before, Josh Dobbs. I think their defense is incredibly tough. I think they're well coached. I think they're physical. So a lot of teams right there competing. You've also got the Raiders, who I would be surprised if they're able to compete for the playoffs just because I don't really buy in to Josh McDaniels, what he's selling out there. And I think when you're in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and Russell Wilson now being coached by Sean Payton, I think you look at the Raiders as the clear fourth team there. I do think that the Broncos have an outside chance of the Sean Payton magic working in year one, getting Russell Wilson going. So I would give them a decent chance as well. Looking at the Patriots, I don't really buy into what they've got going on. I think they have an unbelievable defense, but I'm still not sold on offense. I do think Bill O'Brien is a big upgrade for them. But again, they are in a tough division. The Bills, the Jets, and the Dolphins, I think, are all better football teams than the New England Patriots. So we'll see how that plays out as well. And again, I mentioned I don't think that the Texans or Colts are punching a ticket to the playoffs. I think that covers all the teams in the AFC. So who do I have making this 7th seed? I'm actually going to go with the Tennessee Titans. And if you've been following along with me here, that might not come as a huge surprise. The Titans, they have the easiest path of all these teams. They play in a division where they're going to be playing against either backup type quarterbacks and Gardner Minshew, with the Colts, maybe Case Keenum with the Texans, or rookies. CJ Stroud with the Texans, Anthony Richardson with the Colts. Usually when you've got rookie head coaches and rookie quarterbacks, the divisional opponents are able to kind of take advantage of that. I think the Titans are going to pick up some wins in the division. I think they're going to be tough out for the Jaguars as well when they face off. The Jaguars swept the Titans last year for the first time in a very long time. I think it'll be difficult to do that again this year for the Jaguars because the Titans, they were one of the most injured teams you've ever seen last year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They also lost their starting quarterback. Ryan Tannehill has never had a losing record as the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. Mike Vrabel is a great head coach. I think they're extremely well coached on the defensive side of the ball with Vrabel and Shane Bowen. I think Tim Kelly on offense is going to be a big upgrade over what they had in terms of play calling and offensive design. They still have Derrick Henry. They have Ryan Tannehill. They brought in DeAndre Hopkins. I think that when you look at what they have supporting those guys around them on the offensive side of the ball, the offensive line, while not good or great, should be better than it was in 2022. And you obviously have brought in, over the last couple of years, some talented pieces to throw the football to. Chigo Okonkwo at tight end, Treylon Burks at wide receiver. I also like Kyle Phillips at wide receiver, a guy that couldn't stay healthy in 2022, but when he was on the field, a very talented slot receiver as well. They've got some depth guys, Chris Moore, Nick Westbrook-Akina. I like adding Tyjae Spears to that backfield with Derrick Henry. I've got the Titans. I don't think they're a better team than the Ravens or the Dolphins or the Steelers for that matter, or even the Browns or Broncos. But I think they are in the easiest division and the easiest situation to make the playoffs. They have one of the easiest strengths of schedule in the league in 2023, and I think they're going to punch a ticket. Surprise a lot of people because a lot of people have the Titans kind of finishing more as a bottom 5 team in the league this year. I don't think it's going to happen that way. I think they're going to punch a ticket to the AFC playoffs in 2023. That'll do it, though. That's my 7 teams, right? We've got the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Bills, the Jaguars, the Jets, the Chargers, and the Tennessee Titans. 2 new teams making the playoffs, the Jets and Titans. A couple teams falling out of the playoff picture. I think the AFC is as competitive as it has ever been. It might be the most competitive conference that we've ever seen in 2023. I can't wait to see how it all plays out, but that's what I've got going on. Let me know what you guys think. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. And if you enjoy the content here, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Y'all have a good one.